Welcome to our a deep dive on Berlin.
Right.
We're going to be looking at this Wikipedia article you sent in.
Okay.
And believe me, there's more to this city than meets the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Forget the Brandenburg Gate for a second.
Yeah.
Did you know Berlin was practically built on a swamp?
That's right.
And its history with bears
Yeah.
goes way beyond cuddly souvenirs.
The city's name itself actually comes from an old Slavic word meaning swampy area.
Wow.
It might be the capital of Germany and the most populous city in the EU now,
Right.
but its geography tells a different story. Imagine a landscape carved by glaciers,
Okay.
crisscrossed by rivers and dotted with lakes.
Wow.
All right, in the heart of a bustling metropolis.
Okay, so Berlin's got this glacial history. But how does that actually show up today?
Well-
I mean, beyond the lakes, of course.
Take Tempelhofer Feld, for example.
Okay.
It's a massive public park now,
Right.
but it used to be an airport, built on a flat expanse left behind by melting glaciers. That's the Warschau-Berlin-Erstromtal for you.
Okay.
A valley formed by glacial meltwater, and it shaped the very foundation of Berlin.
Wow.
Even the Spree River, which flows right through the city,
Right.
owes its path to this ancient ice age.
Speaking of the Spree, that's where we first hear about Berlin, right?
Yeah,
Twin settlements, Berlin and Cologne,
Mhm.
popping up way back in the 13th century.
exactly. These early settlements were like the seeds of a future powerhouse.
Okay.
Then comes the rise of the Hohenzollern dynasty,
Right.
and Berlin's destiny takes a major turn.
Okay.
It becomes the capital of Brandenburg, then Prussia,
Right.
setting the stage for its explosive growth.
And then, boom, the Industrial Revolution hits and Berlin's population explodes.
Yeah,
I can only imagine the growing pains that came with that.
it was a time of immense change. Factories sprang up, drawing people from all corners,
Right.
and the labor movement began to take shape.
Wow.
This period really laid the groundwork for the modern city we know today.
Then, in 1871, Berlin becomes the capital of a unified German empire.
Yes,
What a pivotal moment, right? This little swamp town turned into the heart of a nation.
absolutely. But the 20th century brought a whole new set of challenges.
Yeah.
World War I,
Right.
the Weimar Republic, the
Okay.
Nazi era.
Right.
Berlin was at the center of it all.
Mm.
Then, of course, the devastation of World War II left its mark on this city.
And from those ruins emerges a divided city,
Yes.
a stark symbol of the Cold War. The Berlin Wall, I mean, that image is practically synonymous with Berlin for so many people.
It's a powerful reminder of a city literally split in two,
Right,
separated by ideology.
right.
But Berlin's story doesn't end there.
Mhm.
In 1990, the wall comes down,
Yeah.
and with it, a wave of hope and possibility washes over the city,
Wow.
setting the stage for the Berlin we know today.
So what's it like to live in this city that's seen so much history?
Yeah.
It must feel like you're constantly surrounded by echoes of the past.
You're right, there's a tangible sense of history here. But Berlin isn't stuck in the past.
Yeah.
It's a global hub now,
Yeah.
a magnet for people from all over the world. Walk down any street and you'll hear a dozen languages.
Wow.
There's a constant buzz,
Right.
an energy that's both exhilarating and inspiring.
It's also the political heart of Germany, right?
Yeah.
I bet there's never a dull moment with all those embassies and government buildings.
You could say that. The Reichstag building,
Mhm.
home to the German parliament,
Mhm.
is a must-see.
Yeah.
But Berlin's political scene goes beyond the traditional.
Okay.
It's a city known for its activism,
Right.
its willingness to challenge the status quo. It's a place where ideas are debated
Mm.
and change is constantly brewing.
Okay, but let's be honest. Berlin's not all politics and history, is it?
No.
What about the fun stuff?
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest misconception people have about the city?
Probably that it's all about techno clubs and a gritty underground vibe.
Okay.
While that scene definitely exists, it's just one facet of a very multifaceted city. Berlin has a surprisingly laid-back side, with a thriving arts and culture scene,
Right.
beautiful parks, and a unique blend of traditional and modern architecture.
And did you know that despite being a major metropolis, Berlin actually has the lowest car ownership density in Germany?
It's true. The public transportation system is fantastic.
Wow.
And cycling is practically a religion here. It's a very walkable city,
Okay.
which adds to its charm.
Yeah.
You can stumble upon hidden courtyards, quirky cafes, and vibrant street art just by wandering around.
So it's like this mix of old world charm and cutting edge cool. I can see why people are flocking here.
Exactly. And don't let the serious side fool you.
Yeah.
Berliners have a fantastic sense of humor.
Yeah.
Dry,
Right.
witty,
Yeah.
and often laced with a healthy dose of sarcasm. They're a resilient bunch, not afraid to laugh at themselves,
Yeah.
which I think is incredibly endearing.
Speaking of endearing, let's talk about those green spaces. It's
Yeah.
not all concrete jungle, right?
No.
I've heard whispers about vast forests
Yeah.
within the city limits. Is that true?
Absolutely. You could spend a whole day getting lost in the Grunwald,
Oh.
a sprawling forest
Right.
in the western part of the city.
Wow.
There are hiking trails, lakes,
Right.
and even beer gardens tucked away in the woods.
Oh, wow.
It's hard to believe you're still in a major city when you're there.
Okay, you're making me want to book a flight right now.
Yeah.
But tell me, besides the Greenwald,
Yeah.
what other green surprises does Berlin have up its sleeve?
Well, for one, Berlin has more bridges than Venice.
What?
Over 900 of them,
Wow.
spanning the Spree,
Right?
the Havel,
Mhm.
and a network of canals.
Wow.
They're not just functional either. Each bridge has its own history and architectural style,
Okay.
adding to the city's unique aesthetic.
Okay, I'm adding bridge spotting to my to-do list.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away with all the fun stuff,
Right.
let's dive into something a bit more serious. Berlin's political structure. Okay.
I hear it's a bit of an anomaly.
It is. Berlin is one of Germany's 16 federal states,
Okay.
but it's also a single municipality.
Okay.
This means the city government also acts as the state government, which isn't the case in other German states.
So it's like a city within a state.
Yeah.
How does that even work in practice? Does it create any unique challenges or advantages?
Well, it definitely makes for a more streamlined decision-making process.
Okay.
However, it also means that Berlin has to balance the needs of a global city with its responsibilities as a state.
I bet that creates some interesting political dynamics. But enough about politics for now. Let's shift gears and talk about something a little more lighthearted. Berlin's legendary nightlife.
Ah, yes. It's a city that truly comes alive after dark. Right. We'll dive into that after a quick break. Stay with us.
All right, sounds good. All right, we're back and ready to dive into Berlin's nightlife.
Okay.
So tell me, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about partying in Berlin? You can't talk about Berlin nightlife without mentioning Berghain.
Okay.
It's practically a rite of passage for techno lovers,
Right.
with its marathon parties and notoriously selective door policy.
I've heard stories about people waiting in line for hours
Oh, yeah.
only to be turned away at the door.
Mhm.
What's the secret to getting in?
Honestly, there's no magic formula.
Oh, really?
It's all about the vibe.
Okay.
And even then, it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah.
But that's part of what makes Berghain so legendary, the air of mystery and exclusivity.
Okay, so Berghain is for the hardcore clubbers.
Yeah.
What about those of us who prefer something a little more low-key?
Berlin has something for everyone.
Okay.
Whether you're into jazz, punk, or experimental electronica,
Right.
there's a club or bar that caters to your taste.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not all about mega clubs either.
Okay.
You'll find cozy pubs, hidden speakeasies, and even underground parties in abandoned buildings.
Speaking of underground, I've heard that Berlin has a thriving alternative arts scene.
Mhm.
What's the story there?
Berlin has always been a magnet for artists and creatives,
Right.
and that rebellious spirit is still very much alive.
Yeah.
You'll find street art galleries in former squats,
Okay.
DIY theaters in abandoned factories,
Wow.
and experimental music venues tucked away in basements.
It sounds like the city is a giant canvas for artistic expression.
Yeah.
What would you say is driving this creative energy?
It's a combination of factors.
Okay.
The city's history,
Mm.
its affordability,
Right.
and its tolerant, open-minded atmosphere all play a role.
Okay.
Berlin is a place where you can be yourself, experiment, and push boundaries without judgment.
It's like the city itself is a work of art,
Yeah.
constantly evolving and redefining itself.
Mm-hmm.
But let's shift focus for a moment and talk about something a little more tangible. Berlin's food scene.
Ah, yes. Berlin's culinary landscape is just as diverse as its population.
Wow.
You'll find everything from Michelin-starred restaurants
Okay.
to Turkish kebab shops and Vietnamese street food stalls.
Okay, you've got my attention. I'm always up for trying new cuisines.
Yeah.
What would you say is a must-try dish for a first-time visitor to Berlin?
Well, you can't go wrong with a classic currywurst.
Okay.
A grilled sausage slathered in a curry-flavored ketchup.
Interesting.
It's a Berlin institution and a perfect example of the city's love of simple, hearty food.
And for those of us who prefer something a little more refined,
Berlin's fine dining scene is also booming.
Oh, wow.
There are innovative chefs experimenting with local seasonal ingredients and pushing the boundaries of modern German cuisine.
I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But before we move on to dessert, let's talk about another essential aspect of Berlin's identity. Its history with bears.
Ah, yes, the bear is the symbol of Berlin.
Right.
And its presence is everywhere, from statues and souvenirs to the city's coat of arms.
But why a bear? I mean, it's not like they're roaming the streets of Berlin.
The exact origin of the bear symbol is debated,
Okay.
but one theory links it back to the city's name. Berlin might be derived from an old Slavic word for bear,
Interesting.
or it could refer to the dense forests that once surrounded the city,
Okay.
which were home to brown bears.
So it's a nod to the city's wild, untamed past. I like that.
Yeah.
But the bear symbol also seems to represent something more, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The bear has come to symbolize strength, resilience,
Right.
and even a bit of playfulness.
Okay.
It's an embodiment of the Berlin spirit.
Oh.
Tough, yet endearing.
Speaking of spirit, let's talk about the people who call Berlin home. The Berliners.
Okay.
What makes them unique?
Berliners are known for their straight-talking, no-nonsense attitude.
Okay.
They're a diverse bunch,
Right.
hailing from all corners of the globe, but they share a certain love for freedom, individuality, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
They sound like my kind of people. But
Yeah.
is it true that Berliners have a bit of a reputation for being grumpy?
Well, they're definitely not known for their over-the-top friendliness.
Okay.
They can come across as a bit reserved at first, but once you get to know them,
Yeah.
you'll discover a warmth and humor that's all their own.
I guess you could say they're a bit like the city itself. Rough around the edges,
Yeah.
but full of hidden gems.
Exactly, and don't be afraid to strike up a conversation with a local.
Okay.
They're a wealth of knowledge about the city's hidden corners, best-kept secrets, and quirky stories.
So Berlin is a city that rewards curiosity and a willingness to step outside of your comfort zone.
Absolutely. It's a city that constantly challenges you to think differently,
Right.
to embrace new experiences, and to discover something unexpected around every corner.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive,
Yeah.
from swamps and glaciers to techno clubs and bear symbols. But there's still one crucial aspect of Berlin we haven't touched on yet. Its role as a center for science, technology, and innovation.
That's right. Berlin is not just a cultural and political hub.
Right.
It's also a leader in cutting-edge research and technological advancements.
Okay, so we're going from bears to beakers.
And that's what we'll be exploring next.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so we're going from bears to beakers.
And that's what we'll be exploring next.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
We're back and ready to explore Berlin's cutting-edge side. I have to admit, I'm picturing scientists in lab coats surrounded by bubbling beakers. Is that even close to reality?
Well, there are definitely labs and beakers involved. But Berlin's science and tech scene is much more dynamic than that.
Okay.
Think startups developing AI-powered healthcare solutions, renewable energy companies, pioneering green technologies, and research institutions pushing the boundaries of quantum computing.
So it's not just about theoretical research, it's about applying those discoveries to real-world problems.
Exactly. Berlin has this unique ecosystem where science, technology, and entrepreneurship intersect. It's a place where ideas are transformed into innovations that have the potential to change the world.
That makes sense, given Berlin's history of reinvention and adaptability. It's like the city itself is wired for innovation.
You could say that. And this spirit is fostered by institutions like the Adlershof Science City, one of the largest science and technology parks in Europe.
Wow.
It's a hub for research, development, and collaboration with over 1,200 companies and research institutes working side by side.
Wow, that's a serious concentration of brainpower. What kind of research are they focusing on?
It's incredibly diverse, covering everything from photonics and renewable energies
Okay.
to biotechnology and microelectronics. They're even working on developing sustainable urban farming solutions, addressing the challenge of food security in a rapidly growing world.
That's incredible. So you're telling me that Berlin could be at the forefront of solving some of the world's most pressing problems?
It's definitely a possibility. And this focus on innovation isn't limited to science and technology.
Okay.
Berlin is also a leader in the creative industries, with a thriving design, fashion, and music scene.
It seems like Berlin is constantly pushing boundaries, blurring the lines between art, technology, and social impact. What do you think it is about Berlin that attracts this kind of forward-thinking energy?
I think it's the city's openness to new ideas and its willingness to embrace the unconventional. Berlin has always been a place where people feel free to experiment, to challenge norms, and to think differently. And that creates fertile ground for innovation.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored Berlin's past, present, and even glimpsed into its future. What stands out to you as the most remarkable thing about the city?
For me, it's the way Berlin seamlessly blends its history with its modern identity. It's a city that acknowledges its past, learns from its mistakes, and constantly strives to create a better future. It's a reminder that change is inevitable and that embracing change is what drives progress.
It's been an incredible journey. From swamps to a global powerhouse, from division to reunification, Berlin has always found a way to reinvent itself, emerging stronger and more vibrant each time.
And it continues to evolve. Its story is far from finished. What role will you play in its future narrative?
That's a question for all of us to ponder. Berlin invites you to be a part of its ongoing story, to contribute your own unique voice to its symphony of change. So keep diving deep, and who knows, maybe your own Berlin adventure will inspire the next chapter in this incredible city's tale.